All right, this is banded iron. The lighter stripes are connective tissue, and that's the blood servicing it. Now, this is also banded iron, but it's brilliant. And you see the red and the black, they don't mix. They don't touch. There's always a space in between them. They don't like black and red mixed together. All right, and that's same thing, banded iron. They can't explain this. They got all kinds of, oh, it took millions of years to do this and that. No, it didn't. It did not. That is banded iron, same thing. You see the different layers? That's the vein and the artery blood. That's why they actually force each other, the oxygen, to push its way into the alveoli due to polarities. The extra charges on these different stages of iron. They're both iron. They just, one of them has more oxygen than the other. The red has an extra oxygen than what looks like blue or black there. So now, when they're out and weathered, they do this. The black and the red push each other apart because the black actually bubbles up. And I've seen it, and I can show it, and I have shown it in this. Oops. You can see the black right there. You see that? You can actually see it almost without even a microscope. You see it bubbled up there? You see how the black is raised up a little bit? It bubbled up and pushed the red away and just smacked it back up in the air. And then they end up with these cracks. That's what cracks it is. The black raises up. It's just always, you know, I always wonder why they crack in all these different layers. This was a mystery, but now it's solved. All right, you see this here? These are just good size. And that's a little tiny house or truck there, and these are just in the guy's yard. This is on top of the surface of the earth. They didn't dig these up and lay them on here. So this happened, and all what was around this was the creature's body with soft, gooey stuff, eroded and got lost. Supermassive black hole, 40 times faster than expected. Now, this is if somebody was to come out there and look at it, they would see that there's different layers of oxidation, the black and the red, the black and the red. And that's what that's from. That's what cracks them up. Same thing that happened to mine. Now, those little tiny balls in us, well, those big balls, their stone balls are all split up, in us would be so tiny you need the best microscope there is to see them. Now, this also is one single mammal cell or animal cell. Now, take your time to look at this before you say, oh, come on, Roger, you must be out of your mind. Well, maybe I'm out of my mind, but it's still an animal cell. Now, you see that little round spot in the center? You can't miss it. What that is called the nucleolus. Now, there's two little layers to this, and I think we're seeing the outside layer. You see this little seam right here? That's obviously designed to be there exactly that way. And there was some kind of a fluidish thing, a membrane right here. And there was probably some chemistry in here that I will show you what the cell looks like, and it's very, very, very similar. Now, I've been studying this a little bit once I decided, yes, this is quite obviously a cell. This right here, this whole area here is sequestered off. It's held all by itself over in this area. And something was going on over in here, some kind of either the Golgi apparatus or endoplasmic reticulum or something, I don't know. Now, again, look at where the membrane is out here. This is something special here. What else is going on inside here? Well, there's this little ring here, and then there's this piece right here, which sort of sticks out. There's not one of those over here. Over here, it's kind of hugged up to the ring. You see it? And then you go into that sequestered area. Why is this so big compared to this, not so big. And is there anything else we can notice? Well, I notice this. That right there, it looks like a blood vessel. I'm going to show you these close in a second. So does that, so does that, and so does that. Now the other thing is, this is membrane-ish layer. There's something going on there that's a layer of something. And this doesn't have that layer. This does not have that layer. All the way around up to here. That whole thing. And there's just something going on here. And these all down here are layers. So I'm going to come in here close, and this is the key. I know I don't make this spend so much time here, but if you don't pay attention, you don't see it. You see all these different layers? Something was going on in here, and you see this? That's very, very similar to what's inside of a cell, and I'll show you in a second. Now, this is also interesting. First of all, you can see all of these layers of the membrane. There's not just one layer of membrane on things. There's a bunch of layers, and I don't think they really understand that in medicine yet fully. Now, what is this? Well, looks to me like it's got something to do with blood. It could be an artery-ish thing, you know. It was something to do with, it's tubing. I don't know what it's doing. And the same thing there. Some kind of tubing. And it's all in this area here, which would have been what, I don't know. And again, the same thing is still in this area. And I think it carries right over, and it's still one of these in this area. And it's still sort of different here than it is here, how smooth this is. Alright, and again, this is pretty close. There's something that's going on here. I don't know what. And that has to have something. Now, something is going on here in this whole area. It's a region that's serviced for, it's being used for something. I don't know what. And it comes all the way around down the bottom. Now, remember how perfect this is. And there's a membrane right here. You see it? That's, to me, it's telling me that this is said, don't go along with that stuff. Stay over here. I don't know if that's true or not, but it looks like that to me. That looks like a membrane. And there would have been another part on the top, and it just snapped off. Now, did it snap off because of the blood pressure between the black and the red? I would say yes. I would say yes, because that's going to be full of blood too. This, you know, I don't think this was like a red blood cell or anything, but I don't think it's a blood cell. I believe it's just a regular cell. And now here's what a regular cell looks like. Remember all this fancy stuff going on in here. And there's other little dots in here. Some's here, something going on there. That whole channel here is there for some specific reason. What, I don't know. You got another something going on here. Something going on here, whatever that is. This whole area had something going on in it. Now let's see at the cell, what the cell looks like. I remember the big ball in the center. There it is. Now, were we way down here, and then we lost some of this? I don't think so. I think we were out here, so we still can get down into the nucleolus. All right, this is the nuclear pore. This big thing here. Now, remember all that stuff that was wrapped around, like, could this be it? I don't know. Who knows? I don't think it has this. Although it might. That might be that cut. I don't know. You know, I'm really not that good at this stuff down deep inside of a cell. I'm just telling you, there's a lot of stuff going on in that cell. And this one has mitochondria, it's got Golgi apparatus, it's got the endoplasmic reticulum, and mitochondria, and the whole 9 yards, all kind of secretory vessels, these little dots, which I show you, those little balls here and there. There's a lot going on inside of a single cell, and there was a lot going on inside of this. If you look at all the little dots and spots and tubes and cuts and channels and membranes and sequestered areas and excessive areas, there's a lot of activity going on. They're called organelles inside of a cell. A cell is a whole domain on its own. It's a whole living, like, little creature on its own. And it needs support with blood and nutrients and so forth. And those all come through the membrane, and they have to be allowed in and out only by certain types of enzymes and polarities and handshakes. Basically, they know how to deal with what's chemistry in your body. And if you have the right enzymes and bacteria and stuff, they take care of it. They're the gatekeepers. And they're the immune system, and they're also how they feed you. You eat a carrot, it doesn't just turn into your body. It has to be broken down and then built back up again. And that's exactly what enzymes do. And that's what bacteria does, is make the enzymes to do that job. You don't have the bacteria, you don't have the enzymes, you don't have the chemistry. You're likely not nourished correctly in one manner or another, or you're open to invasion. You see that? That's not just mud. That's layers of skin. This was one of those anchor balls in the skin. They're all over the place. And the skin has eroded away, but this ball is still stuck in this little clump of skin. Some of them are above the skin, and this one happens to be in the skin. The Moki marbles, I'll show you, they have all eroded down all the way down to the basement layer. This is not the basement layer. You're still above the basement layer. Moki marbles, different story. They eroded right down to the basement layer, you see? Underneath here, this is a really hard, and you can see all the patterning and everything. It's a basement layer of skin. Oh man, this thing keeps turning on. Anyway, something's going on with the remote. This is all eroded away, and that's the mud that eroded from the Moki marbles. There's still a little bit of mud left, but primarily it's eroded away from that little moundish area and left all the balls. There is so many balls in the skin, it's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. And they're in all of the organs and everything else. They're everywhere. And they're everywhere around the world. And these are similar to those Neolithic stone balls. All right, some of them are perfectly wrong. I got so many different pictures of things that people have sent me about these balls, and the stone balls, the big, huge ones, the huge ones around the Earth, and there's all these different balls in your body. These patterned ones, I think, were involved in the biology of the blood. They were flowed through the blood, and they held on to things and delivered them. That's the way I'm looking at these. Because when you see the size of the blood cells and so forth, it's just impossible to. This thing I think is about 4 feet. A 4-foot cell in your body. Now think about how many hundreds of thousands of times bigger that would be. And if you put that in perspective to a creature hundreds of thousands of times bigger than they are now, a 6-foot person would be hundreds of thousands of times bigger than 6 feet. That puts them into the stratosphere, basically. Now, how this happened, I don't know. But I can tell you what, everything I've found, 100% is biology, or was biology, is either alive now or was alive once. They talk about titans. There were giants in the earth in those days, in the earth, and they were the titans. And those were the children of Gaia, basically, of earth, of Gaia. and they were the monsters and the giants, and they were just, and I think this is the remnants of them. Now, then after that, there was more giants when the gods mated with the human people. And their DNA, they had the same size blood at that point and the same size cells. That's my take on it. So when they mated with the humans, some growth factor took off, but they did not have bigger blood cells, and they didn't have bigger cells in their body. I don't think the ones that died in the flood, these were pre-flood creatures that were the titans, that were the gigantic, 4-foot wide cell. I have stuff that's giants, but the blood is just the same size. And even the huge giants that are around the earth, I mean, just really gigantic, they still have the same size blood as normal. And their stuff turns into mud. Now this, as you can see, there's scraps all around here, so a lot of it did turn into mud, but some of them preserved. I don't know why they had such good preservation in such spots, because it did have excellent preservation, as you can see. Like here, look. Now they're all over the place, but most of them are all broken up, and then they will erode into bits and pieces and become just the background. Here's some more. You see the size of them? Look at the size of these things. And they're all over the place. This whole area is covered by this stuff, but seems to be only certain areas where they didn't basically dissolve. So these were preserved for what reason? I don't know. I think it's got to do with something to do with the dryness. All right, this is another gigantic area, and these are the stone balls that are just now thawing out, because they were frozen when there was still good food locked into these, just like you put them in your freezer. These are the stone balls, and when they're originally in the body, they're saturated with nutrients. And when they were frozen this is up in Alaska, and I'm going to go over this because I got some other stuff to show you up there, specifically about Mount Spur, which is right next door to this. Now, all of these, everywhere, the whole area here is covered with these stone balls, and they all turned mossy. Now that's a very interesting thing. Why did every one of them turn into moss? You'd think there'd be maybe some here and some over here maybe, but not, why every single one of them? That's something that's very intriguing to me. Now, secondly, why did they turn so green? The reason was they were actually food grade material here, and it was frozen in place when it was still edible, and then when it thawed out, now it's being eaten. It was being eaten by that moss, and that's because this is fresh water, first of all. Secondly, it's just now beginning to thaw out because of these regions in the Arctic are thawing out, and like blood falls, it's just blood pouring out of a. They say, oh, it's iron oxide. Yes, it's blood. Blood falls. You can look it up, and you can see the red and then the black underneath. It's just amazing. They don't want to understand this because it's too spectacular for them to grasp, and then to continue on to say we're the experts at all this stuff. They're not the experts. They have missed literally everything. So use your own mind, please. Okay, I guess I'm going to leave it at that, but these are the stone balls. They're baffled. Nobody understands them. They think they're growing out of these walls. Those are the tendon enthesis. You see the red and the black? That's the colors of blood. The balls are the tendon enthesis, and they will erode as the wall erodes backwards. They'll fall down, and they'll lay at the bottom just like they all do. Like here, this was skin at one time. Now, if that was a wall like this, they'd just be all dropping and you'd see them here. And they're all over the world. Huntington Beach, Huntington Cliffs is very, very cool for that. It has skin, it has flesh, and then it has the balls. Okay, this is Huntington Beach in the United Kingdom, Norfolk, United Kingdom. These are those tendon balls. They're not stromatolites that just start growing here for no reason. They have eroded from this wall as it's being eroded by the waves. That is the skin, literally skin. This layer right here is the interstitium, which is the fluid-filled highway. You can barely see it, but if you look close, it's a little bit of a different color. Look. You see it? It's a little bit of a different color. Now, below that is where all the tendon balls are, all those little stone balls. And they were in that wall, and they're not little, but they were in that wall, and they just erode down, and then the white stuff is dropping down too. And this is the actual flesh that's turned into mud now. It's not hard to understand. And what's growing on these is some kind of sea moss. These didn't just pop out of nowhere. They popped out of this wall as the wall eroded backwards and the skin collapsed down. We're in a whole new world, my friends. And I mean, in every single respect. And it's time to fess up to what we got in front of us and say, let's look at it. Let's not run and hide. Why do you want to run and hide? I'm looking for truth, and I'm looking for honesty, and I'm looking for understanding. And I'm finding none of that. It's not wanted. When it's something that goes against what sort of impinges on academics, they will throw you under the bus and go back and forth over you many, many, many times, giggling all the while. It's time. I don't know how to get through to anybody. I don't know how to get through to anybody. Because it's just too spectacular for anybody's mind to grasp. So here we sit. It's been 10 years that I've had all my DNA tests and CAT scans and specimens, and I have tons of stuff. New species, showing everything that they have told us basically is wrong about biology and about our history and about giants and about dragons and all that stuff. They dismissed all of that stuff that was written in the past just like it was nothing. Yeah, they're idiots. Well, I'm going to tell you something right now. We got us an issue. We got us a failure to communicate, because this needs to be communicated. Then people can take whatever they want from it. If they see evidence, they see evidence. They see silliness, they see silliness. I personally see evidence. All right, I love you all. Let's get on the same page of reality, or at least discussion about it. Maybe I'm crazy, but it just might be a lunatic you're looking for. You see this? If you come up here and look back, I mean, I'm showing everything, and I'm trying to make it people understand. This is the size of the actual cell, a single cell of an animal. That is an animal size single cell. It's about 4 feet in diameter. There were titans here on the earth, and they were just so gigantic. Even like that, that's a little tiny piece of a tendon. This is how big these creatures were. Those were the titans, I believe. And even that, I believe that's a skin tag. I have one here just like it. Just like that. It has all the teeth coming around it and the thing coming in. Mine is right here. I show all of these things very clearly. And then you take Bennu, which is the asteroid. They went out and landed on there and picked up a piece of that, brought it back to Earth, and it's exactly the same as the Mars mussel. All right, that's sarcomeres. That is not just nothing. It's not a crab. It's an artery, and it services muscle right there. And this is what they brought back from Bennu. The same sarcomeres right here with 2 layers of phospholipids on it. And they claim we never expected to see those phospholipids. Well, they're there because that's muscle. And it came back from Bennu, which is an asteroid we have here on Earth. There is zero question. It's muscle, and it has phosphate layer on top and bottom. And we spent over $1 billion to get that back here on Earth, and I think we should accept it for what it is. It's muscle. That is muscle. Just like that, being muscle. Right, Petra. And that's muscle in Turkey. We got to accept what is real, and there is nothing but biology. And all of these things, these Anunnaki and all that stuff, we got to start all over and rethink everything. We're so smart, we just, oh, those people are just crazy, they're crazy people. I don't think so. And even like this, all those stone balls up there. I know I'm going to do a video on this too, because that's up in Alaska, right near where I was up there. And these things are, you know, like the Russian sinkholes. That's an exploding sinkhole, a little different than a dropping sinkhole. And there's these gigantic Titan cells. And like I say, in us, like I have giants here. Now this giant hair follicle is, let's say, 500 times bigger than ours. The blood in here is the same size as ours. This blood will not be bigger than ours, I don't think. It's certainly not like, that's a 4-foot wide blood cell. Think of the size of the creature. It's just staggeringly unbelievable. But it is what I'm finding. And like that, that's skin. I showed this is one I just put up a couple hours ago. That's actual skin. And that's the fluid-filled highway that's under it. That's the same as the skin right here. You see that skin? Same as that skin. You see that line right there? Same as that line right there. You see these people? Well, this is like a pinch out of that person's arm. And that is, just think about the sizes we're talking about. And that's skin right there. That is skin. And this right here is the flesh. And these balls are the same balls that I show in the interstitium. Over and over and over and over. It's time we start putting the teachers, give them the test and say, I want you to take a test. What do you see? Time to give teachers and science communicators an examination. We want to give you an exam now. You give us an exam. You tell us what we have to believe. Tell us why we have to believe that in the face of this evidence. That's what I want done. In the face of this evidence, Professor, please tell me why this is wrong. Please, definitively, material evidence, tell me why this is not supported evidence to support the claims that Roger is making. That's all you have to do. You say, but what do you see that you can't, that's wrong? I'm not an idiot. I've got more, I do more research before breakfast than 90% of these guys do in years. And I have found that they just can't accept reality. Reality is reality. I go with reality. And virtually all of this stuff is so unaccepted by them. And here's blood coming out of rocks. Here's a DNA test. Here's a head. And this made me write the book, Minds in Collision, because I'm finding blood coming out of rocks. I'm finding all my stuff, and I'm bringing it to everybody, and I was just destroyed. Here's Benyo again, and I'm saying this is insane, how we have to wait around for these people to look at this. And then you got Typhon and the fish in the desert. You got gigantic membrane here from Tyson. Look at the size of that membrane. 6 feet thick. It's 2 layers. There's a layer here and a layer up above. That's the actual membrane. 6 feet thick. And then you got guys out in the desert finding these gigantic things. They don't know what to make of it. And I say, let's take a look at it from this. And I think I've been blocked in most cases from commenting on these things because they just don't like what I'm saying. And this was from 2015. 2015? Yeah, 2015 was when I wrote a paper about Atlantis and the draining of the Sahara, and that's where it is. It's right there. Black holes, The Russians created them, and they created actually this here, which could be DNA type of a construction in space. All of this stuff needs to be re-examined. The no-toes. And that right there is the hair follicle. There's a heart. Yeah? There's a big no-toe. That's a spring foot. I have no-toes here, but I think it's a different type, but it is a spring, I think. And I think, if you can see, there appears to be a ball here, and another one back here. And I think that rocks on this pin. Need time to show you that, but there's something going on there, and it has its own soul built in, and that's a shoe. That's not a shoe. That's a foot. And the same with the one I'm showing here. Wherever it was. I got so much stuff. And there's the hair follicle. Here's the hair follicle again, and that's what it looks like. And here's the big iron artery, and that's what the artery is. That is exactly what an artery is. You know, it's time to investigate all of this stuff. I mean, literally everything I have found is not understood correctly because they can't understand dipole electron flood theory, which changes the atomic model, accounts for gravity. Gravity is fully understood now. Light can slow down. It doesn't just stay the same speed. Fully understood. And it can speed up, too. We can divide the black from the white, and the white has no weight whatsoever and has all the energy. And all of this stuff I'm showing. Now, and I know, I'm not exactly sure who's totally against this, but I am being suppressed, let me put it that way. 3 weeks ago, I got 1.9 thousand views on this. Material evidence of the theory that changed everything. They don't care about anything. I am being very, very suppressed. I'm supposed to have 209,000 subscribers. I'm lucky if I get a couple of hundred hits. I get, look, this here, 1,000 hits. But most of these people get 100,000 hits in a month. I get a certain flat drip and I'm stunned. They're not spreading it out to other people that they should. It's only to certain people that have been following me for a long time, and now they're not getting notifications I'm hearing. And I know they're not putting me out in the public. I just put all these ones up here. Let's see if they got me notified here. I'm not here. These guys, they're all here over and over and over. I never show up here. And I'm subscribed to my own channel. I'm supposed to get notifications. I don't get them. And most of other people don't get them. But anyway, back to this. As far as I'm concerned, these are diatoms. And that's why they're all over the world. And they just can't understand them. And that was the biology of titans. You see how many of these different types of things there are? Now, what they did in the body, I am not sure. But they certainly had some form of a function. And I would just assume that they were somehow attaching to molecules and carrying them through the bodies. I don't know. I don't know anymore. I'm just lost. I got to be honest with you. They could be ribosomes. Actually, they could be ribosomes. Because the ribosomes are those little balls that float around through your body, and you could have a bunch of these in one of those 4-foot cells. And there's a lot of ribosomes. They say they can be up to 1 million of them inside of one single human cell. Now, I don't know if you could get 1 million of those in a 4-foot, in something 4 feet. But anyway, that's my take on these Neolithic balls, the Neolithic stone balls. Totally, nobody can explain them. Well, I think that's my explanation. Could be wrong, could be right, who knows. I'd like to see some, a lot deeper chemistry. Cut some of these, see what's inside, see what, I want to see some more details. Let's go with that. All right, I love you all. Just keep looking. There's so much to see. It's just a brand new world. It's absolutely brand new. You are living in a whole new world. Everything that you can think of has to be examined again. It's literally everything. I mean everything. Even the role of bacteria in the body. Even how important poop is. I mean, just everything. There is nothing that hasn't got to be re-examined. Nothing. How does light move? How does heat transfer? What is heat made out of? What is light made out of? It's just never going to end for you now, my friends. If you really are interested in reality, you have to step off that threshold into reality. Because not one single thing that you would think right now is going to be correct. Not a single thing. Nothing. Zero. All right? You may be able to put nuts and bolts together, and yes, that'll be correct. That'll be fine. You may be able to make a car and it'll run. Yes, that's fine. But anything theoretical, history, archaeology, anthropology, geology, all of these ancient myths and all that stuff, 100%. Well, you know what I've been showing, and it's literally 100% remake of everything. Physics they've never understood, because they just never understood it, because you had to stick with Einstein saying that the speed of light never changes. Totally wrong. Showing everything. And I will stand in front of any expert, any academic, anybody, I don't care who they are, as long as they are a big shot. I want a science communicator to say, all right, I'm a science communicator. Show me your stuff. And then we will talk. And I will show them my stuff. And then they can communicate whatever they want to communicate. They can say the guy's insane. And here's why. But if they're science communicators, they have to communicate a reason. Don Lincoln, who is supposedly a science communicator from Fermilab, just insulted me and won't speak to me, and I show the particles that he found 10 years ago, right here. These are Don Lincoln's particles, and we found exact same particles in our light experiments. Exactly the same. 10 years ago now. And so we've spent, I don't know, probably $100 billion or more since then looking for the same particles we found 10 years ago. And we found them very inexpensively. And I showed Don all this stuff. I showed everybody everything. And it's the things I show are undeniable, and they are denied. What does that make the person that denies them? And certainly somebody that's working for the government is supposed to be working on our best interest. To deny even examining something that shows that he's wrong, and that's why it won't be examined in my opinion, which is not correct. If I pay a lot of taxes, and you do too, and this should have been 10 years ago, and we might even be able to get free energy, because we could separate that white from the black, and that's all you do when you charge a battery, is just push the white in and you leave the black out, and we did that. Okay, my friends, prepare yourself. This is going to be fun. These Neolithic stone balls, they say they're 4,500 years old. A petrosphere, and it had puzzled archaeologists forever. They have no clue what to make of these things. They still don't have any. It defies logic, the mystery stone age object. And it's not just these. Wait till I show you how many of these Neolithic stone ball styles there are. And they have absolutely no idea what to make of them. Ooh, okay, this just popped up this morning. Ancient Mysteries, 5 enigmatic artifacts still baffle modern archaeologists. Now, I would like to know what the actual chemical makeup of these are, first of all. Secondly, I think they're diatoms from gigantic creatures. This is what current diatoms look like right here. And these are called frustules. And the frustules come in all kinds of different configurations, and they're designed to make use of the products that surround them in aquatic areas and so forth. They work with the bacteria, and these diatoms are unicellular, so they're single-celled algae with golden brown photosynthetic pigments. All right, so they have pigments surrounding them that they absorb the photons of light. Now, they have a siliceous skeleton. Silicon is what is in the deep ocean, because that is part of the creature's bodies. There's a lot of silicon. And they have a siliceous skeleton known as frustules that comprise two valves. One overlaps the other like two pieces of a Petri dish. Now, that's just one type. There's all kinds. Well, you just saw the picture. They're all over the place. There's zillions of different types and they're all a very distinct pattern. You see how they're very, very patternized.
This is a reminder. Roger.
Okay, they're going to be talking about these Neolithic stone balls, and they are made from a variety of materials. Some of them are greenstone, which is it's an igneous rock, they call it. Serpentine, altered basalts. They have all kinds of different names for rocks, but basically they're all mud fossils, and they solidified in certain conditions, which made them come into different types of stone. There's sandstone. We all know about sandstone, and they say 43 of the known balls that they know of are made of sandstone. 12 of these balls are made of quartzite. Quartzite is the silicates, basically. Serpentine, 9 of them are made of serpentines. Gabbro, which is a difficult thing to carve. And then there's hornblende, and then there's granite. They have a ton of these things. The composition of many Neolithic stone balls has not yet been fully tested or inspected. They don't know what to think of them. They just, and they don't know what they were for. Were they artists? Were they weapons? Were they weights? Were they rollers? Why would they sit around carving these things? You know, I would think they'd have other things to do, like trying to find food and stuff. If these people were just carving with chisels, I don't know what they even carve with to make those things. You know, this is really funny. This is Stone Age technology. Carved stone balls. Down here, look, carved stone balls. Rethinking the carved stone balls. Stone Age technology, how to make a carved stone ball. Who the hell is going to do this? Are they going to do this? This is just amazing to think. Well, I have to admit, this is hard to believe that these things are actually biology. But you see all these? You think somebody carved that when they had stone tools to work with? Look at this. But I'm going to tell you what these things are. They're diatoms. You see this? Diatoms, artistry in miniature. These are so tiny. And look at them. These are the kind of things. These are those ancient things that they found, but they were gigantic back then because the creatures were gigantic. That's why they're little balls like this big around. Here you need a really high-powered microscope to see them. It says abundant in both sea and freshwater, diatoms, microscopic single-celled algae build elegant cell walls around themselves called frustules, made of opal. Opal is really a silica. And these transparent shells or cases are beautiful and intricate, like tiny crystal jewel boxes. They come in an astonishing variety of geometric shapes representing the many different types of diatoms. Many, many, many. Just like I showed you many, many, many of these. There are all kinds. They didn't sit around carving things like this. I think it's not credible to think that. Now, these are big. Yes, they're big. They're not tiny, like microscopic. They're good size. But I showed that single cells from creatures' bodies could be almost like 4 feet in diameter. A single cell, one single cell. And I showed that very clearly in my video. All right, don't forget, there's literally hundreds, if not thousands, of different styles of these balls. They're found everywhere, but they have searched for them in certain areas and found lots of them, and specifically Scotland for some reason. Now, they claim that they're all very similar in size, which I can understand that, based on the fact that I believe these are biological, and that's my theory. And they are in us now still the same looking things, only they're extremely small, and they're called diatoms. But you see all these different, this is not just an accident here and one there. They were everywhere. Now, they formed into all kinds of different final, types of stone. And that's exactly what happens in the mud fossils. Some of them turned into mudstone, some of them turned into quartz, some of them turned into all kinds of different things. And that's just the nature of where they were entombed in, what they became stabilized with, which is going to be what they were surrounded with. But look at the complexity of these things. First of all, they have no idea what they're for, absolutely none. But I do. They're for biology. These things carried stuff around in your body, I believe. They did something in the body, and somehow they are particles that were in the body of creatures that were so big you can't even imagine them. And I'm going to show you a single cell from one of the creatures I'm talking about. And these would have been some of the little bacteria or what was running around inside of them, but they were going to be some of the particles that were in the actual cells of a creature's body at one time. Okay, my friends, this just solved a whole lot for me when I realized that the black and the red blood, which is in everything that has blood, somehow collects inside these balls, and then the black opposes the red, and that's where they get banded iron. And these would be banded iron. If you cut that across, you'd find it'd be black, red, black, red, black, red, and I have it right here, the exact same thing. You see, there's all these different cracks right here. Now, this is not a tendon ball like these are. These, I believe, are tendon anthesis, or skin anthesis tendon. But I believe this was like a liver or something. But you see how it's got the black and the red in here? They push each other apart, and that's why you get all these cracks. I could never figure out why they had all the cracks, like that. Why would it do that? Well, what happens is the red and the black have different polarities, and they literally layer each other. And that's what banded iron is. Let me show you some that's fresh and not like been laying out in the atmosphere. Like, this is the same thing. This was out and, dried and wet and dry and wet and stuff like that. And eventually all the layers separated and just pushed each other apart. Due strictly to the fact that there are polar opposites. The red and the black do not mix, the blood. They push each other apart in layers. You see this? Even in this giant sandstone-ish cliff, you see the black is separated from the red. Now, this is primarily all very, very red blood. You see how that black totally separated from the red. Even there looks to be a little bit of black mixed in here, but it's just pushed away into little away from the red. And then up here it's just all red. 100% red, you see it? Here's some black being pushed away a little bit. There's a chunk of black being pushed away. As looks like a little black being pushed away to me here. Could be a